In March of 2009, I learned some disturbing facts about unfit drinking water in our First Nation communities in Canada. I was confused as to why I hadn't heard this news before. Some of these communities have been without safe water for a decade or longer. I recalled when Walkerton met tragic consequences due to unsafe drinking water. I remembered it was on all the news, and people fell over themselves trying to help out. Well, I'm telling you now, we have communities worse off than Walkerton, and we need to feel the same urgency that we felt for those people. The glass action involves sending an empty glass for water to the Prime Minister of Canada. Federal policy laid down in 1977 states they are responsible for funding water services and infrastructure similar to those found in neighboring non-Indian communities. They also claim responsibility for source water protection. I chose a glass so that these people would not be invisible anymore. I chose a glass because it cannot be shredded. I chose a glass because it is fragile like our children. I chose a glass so that it would be a physical reminder that there is a person waiting out there that needs it filled with clean, safe water. All of the people you're about to meet know that water is essential to life.
One of the most important things that has been relayed to me through the elders within my communities is the importance of maintaining our historic spiritual relationship with the water. It's been hit home to me on more than one occasion by our elders, by our political leadership in our communities, that at no time in any treaty relationship with the visitors to these lands did we ever relinquish our obligations, our responsibilities to maintain and look after the water for our future generations. No treaty has ever made mention of First Nations making any type of negotiated agreement with regards to jurisdiction and sovereignty over the water. The chiefs in Ontario collectively, and for that matter, right across Canada, have by consensus also agreed that this is an inherent right and an inherent responsibility of First Nations. There needs to be a learning curve embarked on by the visiting settling governments, and they need to be more reflective and responsive to our aspirations and our expectations around how water needs to be maintained.
I work for the Chiefs in Ontario as their environment coordinator, and in this position I get to work with the communities that have a lot of environmental issues. And one of the leading environmental issues that all the communities are currently facing is water. Even as it relates to drinking water, there's been the contamination of the water. The fish are dying in the water. They're scared to eat the fish out of there. The moose are getting sick. The birds are getting sick. The whole system. Nearly every single assembly, there is a water resolution that has been passed, and they mostly relate to the drinking water, the contamination of the water. In Ontario, there's 133 First Nations, and 33% of those communities are on boil water advisory. And this is very problematic because other than the fact that they have to boil their water before they consume it, a lot of them are also getting different types of rashes and body sores from the water. And if we look at the national picture, there's 600 and some communities in Canada, and there's approximately 100 of those communities are on boil water advisory. Since the Walkerton tragedy, obviously the water issues, drinking water issues, have been raised to created more of an awareness with everybody. First Nations have been living with these conditions for a very, very long time. In many instances, government designs a drinking water system based on Canadian statistics on how fast a family or how many people are in a family. And in First Nation communities, we have larger families and we're more populated than the general public. And so there are a lot of kids in the communities, and the curves that you look at on how quickly our populations are growing is we outrank the general Canadian public population growth. We're not even on their charts. So how can you design a drinking water system based on one Canadian general public growth compared to a First Nations population growth? The provincial drinking water regulations do not apply to First Nation communities because we're under on federal lands considered federal jurisdiction. One of the main recommendations that came for that expert panel report that the chiefs in Ontario have stated that they want to look at is our customary laws. They want to be able to implement the customary laws to take care of the water, to provide clean drinking water to their communities. And that also includes source water protection, is what government has recently termed it. So you're taking care of more than just the water, you're taking care of whole entire areas. And from that water policy forum and also from the different water meetings we hosted, we compiled the document called the Anishinaabeg Mishkigwak Ungwe Hongwe Water Declaration for Ontario. And this is a water declaration that has taken the information, people's statements, people's concerns, people's recommendations from the last 4 or 5 years and put it into one document. This water declaration provides us with the conditions of the water, quantity, includes quality. It talks about the understanding that people need to start to realize that water is alive, that it sustains all life, that it is important that we take care of the water. The elders have told me time and time again that we have to do this immediately because the water is very sick.